So it's 2007 and Miguel is not where he wants to be in his career. All of his attempts at becoming a musician are failing, and at this point, he's not very sure if he's going to make it or not. So he puts his career in the hands of his manager Rick Torres, who had been sending Miguel's music to Jive Records for over a year. So, one song in particular called Sure Thing ends up in the hands of Mark Pitts, who then listens to the song, likes it, and arranges a meeting with Miguel. Before I even get to the building, me and Miguel, the whole entire building is excited about Sure Thing. The promo department, they got signs on the wall. He's not even signed yet. They're just like, we love him. We love this song. So Miguel goes to the Jive Records building and he's taken to Mark Pitts' office. While there, Mark Pitts is like, I really like your music. I really do, but let's see what you've got. Show me something. So Miguel then summons up everything he has and sings to the best of his ability. Even when the sky comes falling. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but Miguel sings his heart out. And then Mike is like, okay, I like you. Yeah, you've got something. But Mark doesn't sign Miguel right away. He does so about a month later, and so Miguel's professional music career had just begun. However, Miguel was facing one issue. See, he was still signed his previous label, Black Ice. So one day Mark Pitts is about to release a sampler of Miguel's music. He's excited about it, and he knows that people are gonna wanna hear it too. But before he can release the music, he gets a cease and desist order from Miguel's previous label, Black Ice. See, they were like, I see you trying to move on without us, but we're not about to let that happen. See, you're still signed to us. And because you left without finishing your contract, we're going to make your life a living hell. Now at this point, Miguel has music and an album that he cannot drop thanks to Black Ice. However, he still kept working, contributing to Usher's Here I Stand and Raymond v. Raymond, as well as working with Musiq Soulchild. Now as far as Black Ice, they essentially stole his career for about 2 years, and the cases eventually settled around 2010. So, after all the back and forth between him and his previous label, Miguel was finally free to release his debut album. So Miguel drops All I Want Is You around 2010. And the album sells about 11,000 copies in the first week and debuts at number 109 on the Billboard 200. Now for an artist signed to a label like Jive, those numbers were abysmal. But it turns out Miguel's label was not really promoting his project. And that's because Jive Records had bigger issues to worry about. Like if their company was going to stay afloat. It didn't. Around October 2011, Jive Records announced that they would be shutting down the label and all the artists on the label would be moved to RCA Records. So Miguel and a bunch of artists moved to RCA Records. But because of all of this promotion, Miguel's album did not receive a lot of promotion. Undeterred, Miguel gets to working on his second album and gets a whole new marketing team from his new label. The album is really about my growth as a person and as an artist. It's about embracing who I am and not being afraid to take risks. I think that's what makes it so special to me. So in 2012, Miguel is finally ready to drop his second album. But then he has an epiphany. What if I drop 2 EPs that both contain songs from my next album? So Miguel drops Kaleidoscope Dream, the Water Preview, around July of 2012, and it contains songs like Adorn and Don't Look Back. Then, around September of 2012, Miguel drops another EP, and this one is called Kaleidoscope Dream, the Air Preview, containing songs like Do You and The Thrill. So at this point, Miguel's fans are eagerly anticipating his next project. There's a lot of hype in the air, proving that Miguel's strategy to give away a sample of his music did work. So around October of 2012, Miguel finally drops his second studio album, Kaleidoscope Dream, selling about 71,000 copies in the first week and debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Now remember Adorn, which appeared on his first Kaleidoscope EP? Well, that became the first single off of this album. Remember Do You from the second EP? Well, that became the second single, and the third single came out the following year. I wanted to change the sound and expectations of R&B songs on urban radio. The album represents how fantasies are often conveyed through dreams, which embody the purest form of fantasy we unleash through our subconscious. The truest freedom we can experience, totally unrepressed and totally creative. Now, I have no idea what that means, so we'll just keep on moving. Now, I personally like the album. The only song I don't really like is Kaleidoscope Dream, but every song on this album is pretty good. My personal favorites are Adorn, Use Me, Do You, How Many Drinks, and Pussy Is Mine. So in 2013, Miguel appears on Saturday Night Live as a special musical guest. He performs Adorn and How Many Drinks, and he gets a significant reaction from the crowd. Now, another person Miguel gets a reaction from is Mariah Carey, who sees Miguel's performance online and tweets the following: "Slam dunk, R&B is alive, Miguel Unlimited." So at this point, people are like, hold on, why is Mariah Carey tweeting at Miguel? One group of people are like, maybe she just likes his music. While the other group says, there's something else going on here. So the next month, a song called #Beautiful comes out, and the song has Mariah Carey on it and none other than Miguel. Promoted as a lead single from her 14th album, #Beautiful did really well. It peaked at number 15 on the Hot 100 and also went platinum, giving Miguel his third top 20 hit. Mariah is, she's so fast. Her mind is extremely sharp. I didn't really know what to expect, how involved she would be creatively, but she was really behind the vision of #Beautiful being a duet between her and I. The video went with all of that. She's a mastermind. 2013 was an extremely good year for Miguel because apart from appearing on Mariah Carey's single, he also appeared on one of my favorite songs by J. Cole, Power Trip. So Miguel keeps his name alive by doing features here and there, and then in 2015 he drops an album called Wild Heart. 2 years after this, Miguel drops War and Leisure, and it's accompanied by a huge single called Skywalker. Don't sleep, you gotta stay up. Now around this time, Miguel starts getting in touch with his roots, and as a result he decides he wants to venture into Spanish music by dropping a Spanish version of the song Skywalker. Now the song does well among Spanish-speaking audiences, so Miguel's like, what if I drop a whole album in Spanish? So Miguel then does an interview around May of 2018, announcing the plans for a Spanish album. We got more Spanish music coming. We got festivals, we got a Spanish album, War and Leisure, a version in Spanish coming out. Miguel fans at this point, especially his Spanish audience, were eagerly awaiting a Miguel album in Spanish. But then an EP comes out instead with about 5 songs in Spanish, and these were all reworked versions of songs that appeared on his previous album. Then in 2021, he drops another EP. And at this point, Miguel fans are like, okay, now where is the album, bro? The last album you dropped came out in 2017. What's going on? Well, for starters, Miguel got extremely preoccupied with his personal life. He got married to his girlfriend Nazanin Mandy around 2018, and the wedding was long overdue because they had been dating for over a decade. However, this relationship had a lot of ups and downs, mainly caused by Miguel's infidelity. I loved her. I wasn't necessarily always in love with her at the time, and my actions showed that because I didn't really know. I was still discovering things for myself about me. So while Miguel was out there discovering himself, the relationship was falling apart. Now maybe there were other reasons why the relationship was not doing so well, but they would often break up and make up. And there was also a time when they broke up for 1 year while they were both allowed to date other people. They fought hard for their relationship and even attended therapy. But after a couple of years of marriage, the whole thing came to an end. So yeah, Miguel was going through a lot behind the scenes. Also, remember the time that Miguel had to jump over a bunch of people when he was performing? He didn't have to do it, but he did it anyway and landed on some woman's head like it was WWE or something. And when this happened, a lot of people were thinking, I'm sure she's gonna sue him, right? She's gonna make a bag off of this. But she didn't. She eventually let this go. However, Miguel partially landed on another woman named Cindy Tsai, and she ended up suing Miguel and MGM Grand for negligence. Eventually this matter was sorted outside of court, and it appeared like some sort of settlement was reached. Now, people feel like this incident hurt Miguel's career because after this incident, people could not get enough of making fun of it. I personally think it helped his career because we don't necessarily hear of Miguel unless it's time to drop some music or something like that. He's one of those artists that gives you the music and then disappears for a while. So when this incident happened, it got people talking about him more, and I think it made him more relevant for the time being. Now, Miguel is one of those artists that actually puts himself into his music, but in order to do so, he needs to have actual life experience. And sometimes that may take a year or two to grow, and could explain why he takes a while to drop an album. So if I'm right, his next album is gonna be full of breakup songs, but we'll see. Now, for a while, Miguel has been teasing a new album called Viscera. The leading single off the album was called Give It To Me, and Miguel fans think it'll come out this year, but it could potentially come out next year as well. Now, Miguel has a very solid fan base, and they seemingly support whatever he does, so when he drops his next album, it's probably gonna do decent numbers, despite the fact that he hasn't dropped in about 6 years. Also, it's not about the numbers, man, it's about the music. I think after his divorce, Miguel has a lot to talk about, and there's nothing like an artist that's going through pain that helps them produce some good music. Nevertheless, Miguel is still present. He's not very consistent with his releases, but when he does drop, it's usually something to remember. That's it for me. It's your boy Ali. What happened to Miguel in your opinion? Let me know down below. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.